In Meglos, you have a Doctor Who adventure that has the distinction of having turned Tom Baker into a cactus. That's right. Not many Doctor Who shows can claim that. Except this one. Because it's the only one that did it. So anyway, the Doctor receives a message from an old friend who needs help, who apparently met the Doctor, I don't know how many years ago, 50 or so. Boy, he hasn't aged a day, because he might have done it 5 minutes ago. Who knows? This is one of those things that's similar to what I made note of, the Face of Evil, which introduced Leela. And then it turns out, the Doctor must have been there before, but he just, he'd been so many places, couldn't remember. But it wasn't one of the earlier Doctors. It was the fourth Doctor. So this indicates there's all these other adventures he had that we just don't know about. And there's an interesting little gap there, if you will, between the Deadly Assassin and that episode, where you could shoehorn in whatever you want. And I don't know, you tell me. the fourth Doctor Big Finish episodes that I've listened to involve, his adventures with Leela and the two different Romanas. So I don't know if they did any that takes place in that time, but it opens up a whole other aspect of, you could have different companions and everything of him doing that in those years that we just don't know about. And perhaps, just perhaps, this is during that time, within his timeline, if you will, that he met a young Zaster of Tygella. Now, Zaster, I guess, is sort of, the prime minister of the society, and he has to balance the two different groups that are made up of a religious cult and a scientific community that doesn't really believe in their faith. But they're all concerned with their main power source, as they've been forced to live underground because the vegetation life on the planet has taken over the surface, and there's all these, sort of like giant Venus flytrap type creatures. I don't know how'd that happen. they probably mentioned it, I just don't remember. But nevertheless, they moved down and they had this single power source called the dodecahedron. Dodecahedron. They don't say it like that, but I just feel compelled to do so. Anyway, it sits there and drives their power, but there's been some concerns and whatnot. Well, the religious people think it's something that God or the gods brought to them. And I guess the scientific people say, well, we don't know just yet. No. But so meanwhile, the character who's the title of the story, Meglos, is from a neighboring planet called Sulfathura, or Thura, something like that. And his people were all wiped out, and apparently they were responsible for the dodecahedron. And he wants to get use of it so he can destroy planets like the Death Star. I maybe hold them for ransom, I suppose. But anyway, that's how powerful the thing is. And but he's been in hibernation for 10,000 years or something like that, and he's the last of his people. But he's a very powerful entity, but he needs a little help. He can take over other people's bodies and copy other bodies by looking at them and all this sort of stuff. But for right now, he's had to take the form of a cactus. It's the nearest living thing for him to jump into. And I don't know. I guess he kept the cactus there and gave it water and whatnot. Or the computers did. I don't know. Because he's on the devastated planet and he's got this complex there. All that, and he hires some space pirates to help him out. They got to kidnap an Earthman and bring him in to be this body that Meglos can use. Even though the cactus is the form he took for the moment, the cactus aspects of it appear when he loses control of the body he's stealing. And this is why, of course, he takes on the appearance of the Doctor to fool the Tygellans into thinking he is the Doctor. Occasionally, when he's losing control of that, the little cactus little sprouts out, and it's actually a pretty cool look. but it's also kind of silly. But nevertheless, it works. This one's a little better than Leisure Hive, even though there's problems in it. The technology or the special effects ability that they had just still was not up to snuff. Where they have the models are fine the way they are for the screens that Meglos has, and the Space Pirates ship and all that. It's all fine and everything, but the photography just isn't there to achieve the appearance of, that these are, giant constructions when they're obviously toys. And also the blue screen effect of the day just didn't emerge very well, as they're supposed to be walking around the giant complex and whatnot, and it's not really there. But I suppose if someone had the money, they could go in and fix it with some CGI and it would look fine. But well, why bother? So it's a bit of a problem, but what are you going to do? So one of the other aspects of it, there's quite a few, even though Douglas Adams, wrote for Doctor Who, I don't think he had anything to do with this one, but a lot about it kind of reminds me of his mindset and whatnot. And especially with the poor bastard who gets kidnapped and brought in, who ends up being quite the hero, if you will, because ultimately breaks the bond between him and Meglos. Plus, Meglos is able to recreate the Doctor's outfit. And one of the Space Pirates really likes the coat, so he lets him have it. But then the Doctor, who has to play the switcheroo here and fake them out and make him think he's Meglos and all that, leaves his coat, yet has it at the end. So I don't know, maybe he had a second coat sitting on the old hat rack in there. But whatever, it's all over the place. But there is interesting aspects about how is this guy going to steal the dodecahedron when it's so huge? Well, he shrinks it, and it almost could have had like the Master involved in this story if you'd wanted to. Like he's still emaciated and stuff, and he used some sort of bonding with a human being and that kind of thing. But anyway, but also it creates this other race that through time travel and stuff could encounter again, who are a pretty formidable race with their abilities here. But you never hear about it again. So yeah, and it's contained within, it's all soundstage stuff. Which you can see the problems with effects and whatnot. It's that same old alien jungle you always see in Doctor Who episodes, but doesn't matter. It's fine. It's only, there's one point where the Space Pirates are chasing Romana, and she's not really running, but hey, it's really, she could trip if she tried to run really fast because it's pretty cluttered in there. But, but of course she gets captured, but it is what it is. K9 breaks down a lot, but, well, you got to stock up on batteries. And there's also the interesting means by which Meglos traps them in a time loop, and we'll see that occur again. And they how do they get out of it? It says, well, we'll deliberately go through the motions. And that's all you got to do. Hey, it worked. You tell me how you get out of it. So that's one of the things about Doctor Who. And I guess you could attribute this to other shows, of course, too, where they have a certain charm to them. And that was one of the big things going for Doctor Who when it was lacking in special effects and abilities, and not able to have location shots, what have you. The money necessary, didn't have it. And but they had loads of charm. Certainly they had Tom Baker and all that, but just that sort of attitude toward it, and just, yeah, it works. It is kind of, it's not like in some shows, oh, this is stupid. It's in the delivery of it. Yeah, I know it is, but it's still good. And so you accept it, and this is no different. So I like Meglos. I like its, certainly the effect of him stealing the appearance of the Doctor and how that looked. That's pretty cool. And it's sort of rewatching it. A lot of this happens with I'm rewatching these Doctor Who episodes. It's like, boy, you could have followed up on this and that, and this is another one. But probably not won't happen because he's dead. The idiot pirates blew up the whole place, so he's done. There was this one scene where the leader of the cult, she ends up saving Romana from getting shot. They're all like, "Oh, it's so terrible," but she was gonna kill them all. Oh, she's a great hero, isn't she? Well, she just kind of reacted and got herself shot. So, so anyway, I don't know if Big Finish would ever think to revisit and have young Zaster portrayed in some adventure with the Doctor for the Fourth Doctor and all that. But it's something to look at, I suppose. But anyway, this one is kind of the end in a lot of ways of just regular shows, because next comes the E-Space trilogy, and then you kind of have the end of the Fourth Doctor trilogy, which, well, the third episode is a Peter Davison episode with Castor Valva, but that's kind of how it is. They kind of played in these arcs now. And so that's it. Yeah. Thinking about it like that, it's kind of sad. So there you go, Meglos. I wonder, did they ever make a dodecahedron toy? They probably should have, but, you can make a paperweight and stuff. Hell of a lot better than that Geode character from Star Wars. Well, we won't talk about that. All right, so I'll talk to you again in the next Doctor Who episode. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.